Hello dear students. Now in this particular video, we will start with another new concept of function overloading. Before I say what is a function overloading, you should first know what is the need for this particular concept. See, as you know children, in a particular program, there is no restrictions on how many number of functions can be included. We can include any number of functions in a program, but every time you give a different name to every function. Say for example, there is a program wherein two functions are there. So we have to give two different names for two different functions. If two are there, you can remember. No problem. Say there is another function which requires, another program which requires 5 functions to be included. This also to some extent you can remember the names of 5 different functions. There is another program which requires 10 member functions to be included. Then you have to give 10 different function names. Okay, a bit difficult to remember, but somehow a programmer will try to remember 10 different names of the functions. Say there is a program which require 50 member functions to be included. Different operations are there. At that time you have to give 50 different names to the functions, and at the same time you should also remember those 50 names which you have given. So here a bit of difficulty begins. If the number of functions increases to 100, 200, 500, it becomes much more difficult to remember the names of the functions. To overcome this particular problem, there was another concept started which is known as function overloading. What is this function overloading? As the definition says, it is a procedure which allows multiple functions, that is n number of functions, to have same name. That is, we can give any number of functions, let it be present in a program, we can give the same name, but differ in number and type of arguments. We can give any number of functions in a program with the same name, but the condition is each function should differ in terms of number and type of arguments. If the number and type of arguments are also same, function name is also same, then that creates confusion and ambiguity for the compiler to make out which function to be executed. So here our one problem gets solved. We need not remember n number of names given to the functions. We only have to know that how many inputs we have to give and the type of inputs we have to give to that function. So that is why to differentiate which function to invoke, we have to differ in terms of number and type of arguments that are present with the member function. Now let us take an example to understand what is meant by this function overloading. Here I have taken one example. As you can see in this example, there are 3 different functions with the same name, that is func, that is function. These are 3 different. So now let's take an example to demonstrate function overloading. I have taken here one very simple example wherein a program is written to take 3 different types of inputs. One is integer, then one is float, and another one is character. These 3 inputs, these 3 values are taken and they are being printed with the help of overloaded functions. Now as you can see, there is a class with the name overload over here. That class is having the public access specifier with the first function void function. It is going to have one argument of type integer. This particular function is used to display integer value. Okay. Let us take the next function in the same class that is also having the same name function. It takes one argument but type is float. This is used to display float value. Next you are having another function here which is again going to take a single argument which is of type character, and this function is used to display character value. Okay. Then we are having the main function. In the main function again we have taken 3 different variables assigned with different values, and these particular variables are passed as the argument to this overloaded functions. So now let's see how exactly the execution takes place for this program. Starting with the main function here. Now here, as you can see, you are having the name of the class, that is overload, for which an object is created. Okay. Then there is another variable of x which is of type integer, and x is holding value 3 we have assigned. There is another variable y which is of type float, and we have assigned with the value 2.3. That is a float value. There is another variable z being assigned with the character as the data type with the value p. Whenever we are assigning any character value, it should be shown in a single quotes and then assigned to the variable. Okay. Next, we are using this object and invoking a function by passing the value here which is given x. Now how the compiler is going to identify? Here you are having a function which is invoked by the object, and that function is taking the value variable x. What is the data type of x? It is integer. So the compiler is going to check in the class any function which is going to take the argument which is of type integer. So here in this class you are having a function which is taking the argument which is of type integer. Then this function will be invoked by the compiler. So now what is the value passed here? X. X is holding 3. So that 3 is passed here to a. So a holds value 3 here. Then compiler moves to this statement. It says cout integer value. So that gets displayed onto the screen. Integer value. What we are displaying? A. What is there in a? 3. So 3 gets displayed onto the screen. Then you have closing bracket. So when closing bracket encounters, which means that execution of this function is completed, control goes back to the same statement from where it was invoked and then moves to the next statement in the main function. Now, the object is trying to invoke another function with again one argument. But what is the data type of that argument? It is float. So now compiler checks in the class with this function name and any function which is going to accept an argument of type float. Yes, it is there here in the class. You have this function which is going to take a single argument of type float. So from here, what value we are passing? Y. What y is holding? 2.3. So that is being passed here to this variable. So now b holds 2.3 as the value. Then control enters here. Cout, again it displayed onto the screen float value, which gets displayed onto the screen here. What is b holding? Different functions which are present in a program but sharing the same name. As you can see, same name is given to 3 functions. But there is a condition given here, differ in number and type of arguments. As you can see, there is first function which is having only one argument. This is second function which is having 2 arguments. There is third function which is having 3 arguments. So here the first condition which says it should differ in number of arguments. So first function has 1, second one has 2 and the third one has 3. So now when we differ in terms of number of arguments, compiler it will be easy to execute the function depending on the number of arguments. Although the data type is same given to the arguments, but the number of arguments are different. That is the meaning of differ in number of arguments. Next, I have taken another example. In this example, as you observe, again I have taken 3 different member functions, but all the 3 are having the same name, same number of arguments, but the data type of the argument differs here. As you see, there is first member function with a single argument of type integer. There is second member function, again there is one argument but type is float. There is third member function where again one argument is there but type is character. So here these are 3 different functions having the same name but differ in type of arguments it will take. That is a type of values which these functions will take. Okay. That is the meaning of differ in type of arguments. So now, what is function overloading? It is a procedure which allows multiple functions to have same name but differ in number and type of arguments. So how it is going to differ in number and type of arguments? I have taken two examples. In one example, I have shown how the number of arguments we can differ. In another example, I have shown how the type of arguments can differ. So this is the introduction for function overloading. Okay. So when we are using this particular, say, concept, there are some restrictions we have to take care. Those are restrictions on overloaded functions. The first restriction is each function in a set of overloaded functions must have different argument list. That's what the meaning of the introductory part of the function overloading, which I have said. These are all overloaded functions, but they have to differ in the arguments. Either it can differ in the number or type of arguments. That is the first restriction which is present here. Coming to the next one, it says if type definition, this is a keyword actually. If type definition is used for naming functions, then the function is not considered as different type. How this statement I can explain is, before we get the explanation for this particular restriction, we should know what exactly this keyword type definition does. With the help of this keyword type definition, for our basic data type, what we have int, float, char, double, we can give a different name to this data type. Say for example, there is 2.3 that gets displayed onto the screen. Closing bracket. So execution of this function is completed. Control again moves back to the point from where it was invoked and then moves to the next statement in the program. Now you see this object function is trying to invoke, the function with again single argument, but what is the type of this argument? It is character. Okay. Now the compiler checks in this particular class, is there any function which is taking a single argument of type character? Yes, it is present here. So now this function will be invoked. What is present in this variable z character p, which is being assigned to C here? So now C holds p. Control moves to this statement. See out, it displays onto the screen character value. What is stored in C? P. So that will be displayed onto the screen. So execution of this particular function is completed. Control moves back here, this statement, then it checks closing of the class, so end of the class. Again control goes back here, closing bracket for the main. So this is end of program. So this is how, when we are writing overloaded functions, the compiler is going to identify based on the number and type of arguments which is given to the overloaded function. So this was one example that we have seen how the function overloading works. Now let us take another example which shows how the function overloading is going to work here. Okay. Let us take another example which says write a program to compute volume of a cone, cube and cylinder using overloaded functions. So now here we have to find the volume of three geometrical figures. They are cone, cube and cylinder. So three different functions should be there with the same name. One function to calculate volume of a cube, another one to calculate volume of a cone, and the third one to calculate volume of a cylinder. So there are different formulas for that. So volume of a cube is calculated by side cube, A into A into A. Then volume of a cone, the formula is 1 by 3, that is 0.33 into pi into r square h, that is height. Then the formula to find volume of a cylinder is pi into r square h, that is 3.142 into r into h, that is height value. R is radius value. Okay. There we have taken three different functions given with the same name CALC, that is calculate. All the three are having the same function name, but now we have to check the arguments. The first function is having only single argument of type integer. Second one is having two arguments of type float. Third one is having two arguments, one is float and one is integer. So in all the three functions, the number and the data type we have differed. So it becomes easy for the compiler to identify which function to invoke depending on the number and type of arguments. Now let us start with the execution part. So execution starts with the main function. First control comes here. Name of the class is volume. For this particular class, I have created an object by name V. Control comes to the second statement here. So it says V dot calculate and there is single argument 5. 5 means it is integer. Now the compiler checks in the entire class where there is a function with the name CALC, that is calculate, with only one argument of type integer. So here in this class you have it, calculate. There is only one argument and that is of type integer. So this particular function is invoked by the compiler. Okay. Now here what value I am passing? 5. So 5 gets assigned to A here. So A is holding value 5 now. Next, in the output screen, if you see, it appears like this. Well, there is int data type. Instead of writing int, I want to give some other name to it. So that can be done with the help of this type definition keyword. So this particular keyword, we have to write type definition, old data type. That is the name of the basic data type. And for that data type, what new name you want to give? Functions, what are the rules, regulations associated with data type will remain same. That will not change. Only the name of that data type will change. Now say an example I have taken. Type definition keyword. I have taken int, the basic data type. For this particular data type int, I am giving a new name as num. Okay. So in what way this integer works? In the same way num also will work. It will all have all the characteristics which are there for int. So they are one and the same only different names are given to them. So now I will explain what is the meaning of this statement. It says, if type definition is used for naming function, then the function is not considered as different type. I have taken an example here. See, there are two functions in a program with the same name and they are having only one argument. For the first function, I have taken int a. For the second function, I took num b. Now, both are having same name, both are having single argument and both are having the same data type. So in no way your compiler can differentiate between these two. This may be written as int, this may be written as num, but the functionalities are the same for both of these data types. It is integer only which is called by another name as num here. So functionalities remain the same. The type of values it can take remains the same. There is no difference. Name of the function is same. Number of argument is same. Type of the argument is also same. So if this way you are writing the functions in a program, then function overloading will not work. Because the condition for function overloading is it has to differ in the number and type of arguments. So if you are using type definition, for the basic data type, you give another name and with the help of another name, you will try to show another function in the program. It doesn't differentiate because both have the same functionalities, which means these two variables are going to take same type of values from here. So it doesn't work for function overloading. So I hope students you're clear what is meant by function overloading. Is a procedure which allows multiple functions to have same name but differ in number and type of arguments. I've taken two examples to give you the meaning what is differing in number and differing in type of arguments. Then when we are working with this function overloading concept, there are some restrictions. Both the restrictions I've explained. First restriction is it has to differ in terms of arguments. Second one is if type definition is there and you're naming the functions, then it cannot be considered as different type. Okay. So this is how the introductory part of the function overloading is. Next we will see the different programs with which we can understand how exactly the function overloading works. check the output. See out volume of a cube. So volume of a cube gets displayed onto the screen. Then you have the formula. So here A is replaced with 5. 5 into 5 into 5, that is 125, that will be displayed onto the screen. This is output for volume of a cube. Okay. Next, closing bracket indicates end of this particular function. So from here, so again the control moves back to this statement. So execution is completed, control moves to the next statement here in the main. Now it is V, object.calculate 2.0, 3.0, which means I am passing here for this particular function 2 arguments, and both the arguments are of type float. So now the compiler, it is going to check in the class where there is a function by name calculate, and it is going to take 2 arguments and both should be of type float. So it's here. Same function name, 2 arguments and type float over here. What are the values passed? The first value 2.0 that gets assigned to R, that is radius 2.0. Next is 3.0 that gets assigned to H, height, that is 3.0 over here. Next we'll see the output. Here it says volume of a cone, that gets displayed on the screen, volume of a cone. Formula is here, so it will be 0.33, 3.42, so it is R means 2.0 gets replaced, R again 2.0, and this is 3.0. So 0.33 into 3.142 into 2.0, 2.0 into 3.0 results in 12.44. So this is now volume of a cone. Okay. Next, compiler encounters this statement, that is closing bracket, which means execution of this particular function is done. So control goes back to the main function from the point where it was invoked. It was invoked from here. This execution is done. Control moves to the next statement in the main function. Now you see, it says V, that is volume dot calculate 2.0 and 3. One is float value, 3 is integer value. So now in this particular class, the compiler will check where there is a function which is going to take 2 arguments. One is of type float and one is of type integer. So here there is a function in this class calculate taking one float and one integer value. So now we'll see the output. Control comes, volume of a cylinder, see out statement, it gets displayed onto the screen, volume of a cylinder. Now what value we have passed? For radius we have given R 2.0 and for height it is 3. Now so the same values will be taken here. 3.142 into R, R is 2.0, this R is 2.0 and this is 3. So 3.142 into 2.0 into 2.0 into 3 results in 37.704 that gets displayed onto the screen here. So next, from here the closing bracket, control comes back here to this statement, execution is done. So you have again closing bracket for the main. So before that it checks the closing bracket for the class, semicolon, end of the class, control comes here, closing bracket for main function, end of the program. So this is how the function overloading works. Here it is very important that you see program will have a number of functions with the same name, but compulsory should differ in the number and type of arguments. The number and type of arguments cannot be the same for function overloading. So depending on the number of arguments which are present, depending on the type of arguments which are present, the compiler is going to invoke the relevant function for execution with the concept of function overloading.